Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today, the top 10 child stars who sued their parents. There is a stereotype that child actors have horrible upbringings and their careers tend to crash and burn once they become adults. This is most likely due to the fact that stage parents are just trying to cash in on their son or daughter's talent at a young age. Other times, when a child is suddenly thrust into the limelight of success, parents have no idea how to handle raising a mini celebrity who makes more money than they do. In the video today, we're looking at 10 stories of child actors who had to sue their parents because they completely screwed up their lives. Number 10. Leighton Meester. In Gossip Girl, Leighton Meester played the Queen Bee, Blair Waldorf. In real life, she could not be further from her spoiled rich girl character. Meester was born in prison because her mother Constance was jailed for smuggling massive quantities of marijuana out of Jamaica. For the first few years of her life, Leighton was raised by her grandparents in Florida. After getting out of jail, Constance Meester could no longer sell drugs, so she switched her focus to cashing in on her young daughter's beauty. Constance started pushing Leighton into professional modeling at age 10 and acting on TV at age 13. Her mother moved the family to Los Angeles the very next year. Even at that young age, Leighton felt the weight of responsibility for paying her family's bills. She got the role on Gossip Girl at age 21, which thrust her into the limelight, along with providing a much bigger paycheck. Leighton's younger brother Alexander had medical issues, and her mother claimed that they had to pay a crippling amount of hospital bills. So, of course, Meester believed her mother, because what kind of monster would lie about something like that? She gave her mum $7,500 every month to help out her family. It turns out that instead of paying for medical bills, though, Constance started buying expensive clothes and getting plastic surgery. When she found out, Leighton stopped giving money to her mother. In 2010, Constance responded by telling TMZ and anyone in the press that would listen that she had a contract with her daughter to get a $10,000 a month allowance. Meester sued her mother to prove in court that there was never any written contract, and she demanded custody of her brother. In the end, Leighton won the custody battle and made sure that her brother got the care that he needed. She cut off ties with her mother completely. Today, Leighton Meester is married to Adam Brody, who is known for playing the socially awkward Seth Cohen in The OC. At the very least, she gets to have a happy ending. Number 9. Drew Barrymore. The Barrymore family is famous for having a long lineage of actors and actresses going as far back as the 1800s. Drew Barrymore's parents started putting her in movies when she was only 11 months old. As a little girl, she starred in E.T. and quickly proved that she had just as much talent as most adult actors. However, growing up in a famous Hollywood family had a dark side. Drew's parents took her to the Studio 54 nightclub to mingle with other actors. She started drinking and trying drugs at just 9 years old. Her parents knew about this and simply did nothing to stop it. When Drew became an addict, her mother put her in an institution for a year instead of changing her own behavior and ending the party lifestyle. Going to rehab helped Barrymore realize that if she continued to live in the toxic environment with her parents, she would never get sober. So at the age of 14, Drew Barrymore went to court to become emancipated from her parents. Strangely enough, her mother actually agreed and wanted her daughter to live alone and start taking care of herself. She tried to go to a normal school, but was so used to only a few hours of tutoring on a movie set all day that she dropped out and got a job washing dishes at a cafe. Eventually, she got back into acting and managed to build her own career as an adult. Barrymore has said that she never really experienced a normal childhood. Number 8. LeAnn Rimes. Country singer LeAnn Rimes was raised by strange parents who wanted to see her succeed. She released her album Blue when she was only 13 years old, and her family, they suddenly had millions of dollars in sales. A few months later, her parents got a divorce, and her father and business partner took roughly $7 million of Rimes' album sales money for themselves. When she was 16, she realized that her father was taking advantage of her as a manager. She sued him in court for misappropriation of her money. Everything changed when Rimes got engaged, and all that she wanted to do was fix the relationship with her father. She told the media that she realized that money is the root of all evil, and she blamed her success for tearing her family apart. She decided to drop the lawsuit against her father and repair the relationship so that he could walk her down the aisle. Number 7. Macaulay Culkin. Everyone loved Culkin in classic 90s movies like Home Alone, Uncle Buck, and Richie Rich. He quickly became one of the most talented child actors of all time. His parents never got married, so when their relationship began to crumble, there was no need for a formal divorce. However, they had an even bigger problem. They weren't just fighting over who got custody over their kids, they were also battling over who would continue to work as Macaulay's manager. His manager would receive 15% commission of all the millions that he made from every film. Macaulay wasn't the only Culkin child that was an actor. His parents put every one of his siblings into show business as well, and the parents were managing all of their careers. After the breakup, his father Kit purposefully began sabotaging the kids by withdrawing parental consent for his sons to star in movies out of sheer spite for his ex. No one wanted to work with the train wreck of a family in the middle of the legal battle. Macaulay was 15 at the time, and he decided that instead of picking one parent over the other, he would emancipate himself in court and become a legal adult so that he could have control over his own earnings. This was in 1999, and he did not star in another movie until 2003 when he played Michael Alec in Party Monster. Number 6. Ariel Winter. Ariel Winter began her acting career at age 4 and as a teenager became a star of the TV show Modern Family. According to Winter, her mother would show up on set and harass the producers and directors during the filmmaking process. She claims that her mother's behavior almost got her fired on multiple occasions, but they could not do much about it because a guardian needs to be on set with a minor at all times. In 2012, Winter went to court to ask for her older sister, 34-year-old Chanel Gray, to become her legal guardian instead. Winter was 14 at the time. Her lawyer said that the cast and crew all gave him detailed horror stories about her mother's abuse. This included things like not allowing her daughter to eat on set for fear of her gaining weight. Even years after emancipating, Winter's mother continues to make backhanded comments about her daughter to the media, feigning concern for her well-being. Winter has said that her mother never reaches out to try and repair the relationship and simply talks to the media instead. Number 5. Mischa Barton. As a teenager, Mischa Barton became popular as a star of the TV show The O.C. Her mother, Nuala Barton, had been her manager since she was 8 years old. Mischa allowed her mother to manage her money and saw no reason to let that change even well into adulthood. However, when Mischa was 29 years old, her mortgage stopped getting paid. When the house was $100,000 delinquent, it went into foreclosure. Meanwhile, her mother had bought herself a $7.8 million house with Mischa's acting money. Barton's name was on the deed of this second home since her mother was using her daughter's money to buy it. So when Mischa demanded that they sell the house to pay for her mounting expenses, Nuala outright refused. She kicked Mischa out, changed the locks, and chased away any real estate agents that showed up trying to put the house on the market. Mischa was forced to sue her mother in court for stealing her money. Typically, a manager keeps about 10% of an actor's earnings, but Nuala Barton kept far more than that for herself. She blamed her daughter for not getting their working relationship in writing, even though she had been representing her since she was only a child. They eventually dropped the case and resolved the issue in private. Number 4. Gary Coleman. In the 1970s, the TV show Different Strokes became iconic. Even to this day, people still quote Gary Coleman's character with the line, "What you talking about, Willis?" Coleman was born with health issues with his kidneys. At just 5 years old, he had a kidney transplant. Unfortunately, his body was rejecting the new organ and he still needed dialysis treatments multiple times a day for his kidneys to work. These medical issues stunted his growth, so he was shorter than the average person. In a way, it helped him extend his career playing a kid on TV, but as he grew up, it became much harder for him to adjust to real life. Since he was a child during the filming of Different Strokes, his adoptive parents, agents, producers, and so many other people were dipping into his multi-million-dollar paycheck. He should have had at least 25% of his pay set aside in an estate that would have been enough money to set him up for a comfortable life, but in the end, he was left with almost nothing. He ultimately had to sue his adoptive parents for stealing his money. Despite the fact that he won the case, his acting career, it was doomed. His money ran out quickly, and he was forced to work normal jobs and appear on the occasional reality TV show. He died at just 42 years old. Number 3. Corey Feldman. After starring in The Goonies, Stand By Me, and Gremlins, Corey Feldman should have had millions for his roles. He started his career when he was only 3 years old. When he was 14, he was curious to see the balance of his bank account. He was shocked to see that instead of the millions that should have been there, his parents had only set aside $40,000 for him, and they'd spent the rest on themselves. When he was 15, he had 3 contracts for movies coming up. Feldman knew that he had to emancipate himself from his parents in order to even have a chance of keeping his own paychecks. Even though they had already bled their son dry, his dad demanded the last $40,000 during the legal battle, which meant Feldman was completely broke until he got paid for his upcoming roles. After this drama with his parents, he started using drugs and tried a career in music. Today, he still acts, but the roles are much smaller than what he got when he was a kid. Number 2. Tiffany Darwish. When she was only 10 years old, Tiffany Darwish's mother was having her sing in local bars to try and make her famous. She was eventually discovered by her manager, George Tobin. In 1987, the single I Think We're Alone Now became an overnight success, and Tiffany Darwish became known simply as Tiffany. She became a teen superstar who toured around malls in the United States when she was 15. She had the #1 album that year, and it sold 4 million copies. Her mum stole 70% of her earnings and left only 30% in a trust fund that she could not touch until she turned 18. After learning about this, Tiffany ran away from home to live with her grandmother and sued for emancipation when she was 16. Her mother tried to blame the financial situation on Tobin. He countered that he had used a standard contract. Unfortunately for Tiffany, none of her subsequent albums ever made as much impact as the first. She did a few small acting gigs, changed her musical style a few times, and even posed for Playboy, but there were no more #1 hit singles. Number 1. Billy Unger. Up-and-coming Disney Channel lab rat star Billy Unger's father, William, was working as his manager. They never had a formal written contract, but Unger trusted his father to manage his finances for years, despite the fact that he had absolutely no training in the entertainment industry. William started taking a 33% commission out of Billy's paychecks rather than the industry standard of 10%. Instead of spending the time helping to further his son's career with new acting gigs, he used that extra money to take girlfriends on expensive vacations and pay for their rent. William barely spoke to his son and just spent his time gallivanting with women. The straw that broke the camel's back was when Unger's father stole even more from his son's money to purchase a $1 million life insurance policy on Billy, listing himself as the sole beneficiary. This was very unsettling and somewhat creepy, so in 2015, Unger sued his father for fraud, breach of contract, and negligent misrepresentation. So I really hope you enjoyed that video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for brand new videos every single day. Also, I've got a podcast. It's called BrainFood, and it's educational, entertaining content just like this. It's a bit longer form, and it goes into a lot more depth on a specific subject, really getting into all of those fascinating little details. You can check it out through the link in the description below, or just by searching your favorite podcast app for BrainFood. And if you like this YouTube channel, you are sure to love that podcast. But if you want to watch something else right now, why not check out a related video from the TopTenz archives over there on the right? And as always, thank you for watching.